Right now, we could see a massive change coming for SNAP beneficiaries. That means more than 42 million Americans could experience massive changes that could reduce your benefit amount. It could exclude you from benefits, but the ultimate goal is to ensure that SNAP beneficiaries receive the money that they're due. Now, what exactly does this mean? What changes are coming? Well, there's one new change that I want to get to, because this new change, according to reports just this afternoon, they are stating that this could be the framework of what is coming next. That's important. But look at this. It says Nancy Mace targets fraud with bill to require photo on SNAP EBT cards. It says this is basic common sense, fairness, and protecting taxpayers and the American families who truly need food assistance. So she is proposing that we take every single EBT card and we put the person's photo on it, so that when they go to the grocery store and they use their EBT card, the cashier will ask them for it and they have to match the photo. Okay, so that person has to look like the photo, or else it doesn't work and they will decline the transaction. Now, that is one change, but there's other changes that are already underway, the goal of which are to eliminate fraud and to cut back on expenses. Look at this, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what Nancy Mace is proposing and what this means not just for the federal government, but also the individual states, because the individual states will have to pay the majority of these costs. And I'll explain more on that in a moment. But here's one of the changes that is already going into effect.
Well, Annabelle, the changes we're talking about here would mostly apply to those people who fall under the ABOD acronym that stands for Able-Bodied Adults Without Dependents. The Trump administration says anyone between the ages of 18 to 64 or parents who don't have a disability with children older than 14 years old will now have to follow a 20-hour-a-week or 80-hour-a-month work requirement, which includes either a job or participation in a job training program or volunteer program. Those who don't follow the requirements will be limited to 3 months of SNAP benefits over the course of a 3-year period.
Okay, so that is one of the changes that is already occurring. That happened just on December 1st. Now that's one. But then we got to get to the next one. Okay, and this is another big one, because the Trump administration has asked every single state to provide them with the data of all the recipients that are receiving SNAP benefits, to make sure you send in their name, their address, their immigration status, right? Send in all the information. But yet 21 states are holding back. Look at this. It says SNAP benefits at risk as states resist Trump's immigration data demands. Well, this is why it's important. Listen to this right here.
In October, a federal judge ruled that the administration could not deny SNAP benefits to states that did not provide that information on recipients. But today, the agricultural secretary said the government is going to do it anyway because of the problem of fraud. During a cabinet meeting today, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said Democratic-controlled states have until next week to provide information on recipients of SNAP benefits or risk losing those benefits, saying the information is necessary to root out rampant fraud.
186,000 dead people's Social Security numbers being used, 500,000 people receiving benefits more than twice. We had a couple of people receiving benefits in 6 states.
Rollins saying that data coming from Republican-controlled states who have complied with the administration's request for the Social Security numbers and immigration status of SNAP recipients, a move criticized by Democrats and immigrant activists.
So one of the things that's interesting about what Brooke Rollins just said is that there were even some people that were receiving benefits in 6 different states. These are Republican states, and Republicans have been saying that no, we are up on this. We know if somebody's trying to fraudulently take advantage of the state and the SNAP benefit program. But if Republican states are seeing that there's fraud in their states, What the Trump administration is saying is that there has to be fraud in Democratic states because it would be much easier to go after a Democratic state and get the benefits from them than it would be in a Republican state. But this is why Representative Nancy Mace is targeting fraud with this bill and saying that we need to have a photo on every single EBT card. Now, I want to read you a little bit of this article. It says right here, taxpayers have had enough of watching their hard-earned dollars abused by people with no legal right to these benefits. She added, this isn't complicated. If you're eligible for SNAP, your photo goes on the card and you're the only one who uses it. No fraudsters, no criminals, not someone borrowing a card they have no right to use. This is basic common sense, fairness, and protecting taxpayers and the American families who truly need food assistance. Okay. Goes on to say, each electronic benefit transfer card issued to a household or individual under this chapter shall include on the face of the card a photograph image taken within the previous 10 years or in the case of a minor taken within the previous 5 years of the authorized cardholder to whom the card is issued. Okay. Now, how is this a problem? Why wouldn't they do this anyway? Right? Why would they not just go ahead with this if this is going to cut back on fraud? Well, here's the reason why. It says, in fiscal year 2025 so far, SNAP has about 42.4 million people as beneficiaries and in 22.7 million households. 22.7 million households. That's a lot of households. That means every single household would need to get a new card or multiple cards. Well, how much could that cost? This is the problem. In certain states, and again, it's on the states currently have to pay 50% of the SNAP administrative cost. The federal government foots the rest of that bill. Well, that's only going to go on, I think, for another 2 years. I believe in 2027, the states are going to be responsible for 75%, and the federal government will take over the other 25%. So, based off what we're hearing this afternoon, a state like West Virginia can replace an EBT card for about $3, but if you put a photo on it, that would actually come up to about $6 per card. Okay? $6 per card in West Virginia. In Pennsylvania, for instance, they found that a photo would cost about $7.80 more per card. Okay? So, 22.7 million households receiving this benefit at $3 a card. It's roughly 68 million. If it's like $7 or $8 a card, $8 card at 22.7, you're looking at about 170 to 180 million dollars right there. Okay, at $8 a card. That's crazy. Okay, that's a massive amount of money. 170 to 180 million dollars just to replace cards. Okay, that doesn't include the benefits. Now, here's why it's a very big deal. This would be not only difficult for the USDA to go and do quickly, it takes some time, and then there'd be the fact that there has to be a transition date where they accept the new cards, but they are not going to decline the old ones, because some people may take a month or two to actually get their card. They may take a month or two to go get the photo, submit it online, which again, there has to be the back-end infrastructure for that as well. So it takes time for the photo, and then it has to be uploaded, and then the card has to be printed, and then it has to be sent out. This could take easily 6 months to a year, if not longer. But then there has to be a transition period where they accept the new cards in the stores, which means they probably need additional training as well, and that's going to be frustrating for many retailers. But they have to have a point where they accept the new cards, but they aren't declining the old ones yet. And then there'll be a cutoff where you cannot use the old card because your photo has to be included on it. Okay, that's what they're discussing. Now, here's the reason why it's such a big deal. They say the federal government pays about 50% of SNAP administrative costs. The states are paying the rest. Here's the issue. In fiscal year 2027, it will go to 75% covered by the state, 25% covered by the federal government. This means the right now, if it costs anywhere from 150 to $300 million for this, that means the states, just the states alone, are going to be covering like $80 million. Okay, and again, the states are going to cover half of that at this point. So that's going to be if it's 150 to 300 million, they got to cover 50%. That's 75 to 150 million dollars initially. But then there's people that lose their cards, need a new one, or there's new people that are now accepted into the nutrition assistance program, which then they need a new card as well. So that creates a problem there. Here's the thing. According to reports in fiscal year 2023, we saw 11.7% of SNAP benefits, or about $10.5 billion, were improper payments. Could have been to the wrong person. Could have been wrong amounts. Okay? But that's errors plus fraud. We don't have an exact number for fraud yet. But according to Representative Nancy Mace, this right here would help us determine how much fraud there actually is. Now, here's the last thing I want to leave you with, okay? I don't know if this is going to be something that they roll out. It's likely something that is going to be slow. But according to reports this afternoon, this is not something that it's guaranteed to pass. This is likely the starting point and a building block of how to reduce the amount of fraud within the SNAP program a little bit further. Because according to reports, there's no way to reduce 100% of fraud, but we can reduce the likelihood of it continuing. That's what they're trying to do. So, I want to know your thoughts. Do you think this is a good idea for SNAP beneficiaries? Because this would actually ensure that the costs for the administrative side do not keep going up once this is covered, but this also ensures that the benefits are going to the right people and they're not being taken over by people that have no right to this money. So, we'll see what happens, but I wanted to share that with you because as of right now, SNAP benefits are in question in many different states, but also in question moving forward because some say it doesn't make sense for us to continue to make the American people rely on benefits when all it takes is the federal government to shut down and potentially we could miss out on our monthly payments. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but as of today, that is what we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.